Hi everyone, Lori Marie here, mixed media artist in Vallejo, California. Thank you for joining me today. Right out of the gate, I want to say I got an underpants book from Susan. Thank you. It's an altered underpants book, so she went through the whole thing and altered it. It's very, very fun. Very fun. That just came in the mail yesterday, so it's very fun, makes me giggle. All right, I want to talk to you a little bit about the artists that inspire me. Now, a couple weeks ago, I took a class from Seth Apter, a mixed media artist. Very fun, very, very fun. He was teaching a class called Joker's Wild, and he rang my bell. And by that, I mean he inspired me with his techniques. And once you ring a bell, you can't unring it. So you will see a lot of his techniques used in a lot of his inspiration that I'm using in our project for today, which is also some cards. They're affirmation cards or spirit cards. I'm only going to take you through so far, and then I'm going to embellish them on the airplane on my way to Australia. So, but much credit goes to Seth for ringing my bell and teaching me how to play with these cards. So, thank you so much, Seth. I appreciate it. I also want to talk about a couple of artists, other artists, that did ring my bell. And one of those artists is Jane LaFazio. She is mixed media, fabric, paper, amazing artist. I took a class from her several years ago, and she was the inspiration behind the celerity collage that we make that was some of my earlier videos. Shout out goes to Sharon Payne Bolton. She did ring my bell. She's the one that I learned the Coptic bookbinding stitch from. She was very helpful in starting me on my book journey. Not necessarily altered books, but embracing book art. So I want to say thank you to her, another amazing mixed media artist, oh my goodness. And Nikki Ruxton, she's a local artist here in Vallejo, amazing collage artist. And she rang my bell, and once you ring the bell, you can't unring it. So those are influences that have changed my art, have directed it in a different way, inspired me to take a different path, pushed me, challenged me, made me a happier artist. So my thanks to those artists that were willing to share with me. So we have a fun project waiting for us. So see you on the table. Okay, here's our project for today. It is a box filled with spirit cards or affirmation cards or whatever you're going to make them. There's nothing on the back yet. So there will be a collage on the back and an affirmation or a powerful statement or something thought-provoking. Now this again was inspired by a class that I took with Seth Apter. If you have a chance to take a class with him, please do. Very fun. Very fun mixed media artist. I'm just outlining this again to make it stand out. I double outlined them, which is very fun. And then Seth calls these markings that he puts on his cards. I took a class called Joker's Wild. Very, very similar. I picked his brain, and he shared ideas with me, and I've taken them and given them an LM twist, but still inspired by that man. So he calls these markings, I call them doodles. So each card has the background of the alcohol inks and rubber stamps and the stencil with the acrylic paint on both sides. Very, very fun. And then I just outlined the stencil with a uniball pen. And that was instead of Stabilo. Believe me, it was much easier than doing the Stabilo. So I will take these to another level and put a collage on the back of them. But very, very fun, very colorful, very easy. Let's get to it. So this is a wine insert, the cardboard from the inside of a wine box. 6 inches across, 9 inches tall. I'm going to come in at 1.5 inches and draw a dotted line and a dotted line. Same on this side, 1.5 inches in, dotted line. The dotted line represents a folded line rather than a cut line. So I'm just going to go through the whole 9 inches with a dotted line to remind me not to cut that. Do the same thing on this side. Dotted line all the way through. That will remind me to fold, not cut. Perfectly straight, symmetrical as you would expect. Now I'm going to come up 3 inches. 1, 2, and 3. And this is going to be a solid line. Same on this side. 1, 2, and 3. Turn it around, and now 4.5 inches down, solid line, and 4.5 inches down, and solid line. So I know to cut on the solid lines and fold on the dotted lines. I'll bring my cutting mat in. I'm going to continue to use my ruler as a straight edge. I am going to cut all the solid lines. Now bring my ruler back in and a bone folder or something with kind of an edge on it that you can run down that dotted line. And I am just going to score that along that dotted line. And the same on the other side, just score it along the dotted line. And fold it. This is the bottom piece, so that needs to be scored as well. And you can go along with your bone folder and make sure your creases are nice and tight. That's artist's choice there. If If you don't have a bone folder, your ruler will do the same job. Use what you have. Okay, so let's construct it. We're going to bring the front forward first, then flaps up like this. This is just a trial run. The reason I'm doing this is I don't want the cards to catch on these flaps. Close that up, and ta-da! So our cards will go in there. Oh, that's fun. If my corner cutter weren't packed for Australia, I'd cut these corners. But it is, so we'll do it at a different time. All right, this is ready for gesso. So we'll go ahead and put some gesso on this, a double coating on each side, and let that dry. And then we can do our cards and our box at the same time when we are using our jelly plate and our inks. So 2 coats of gesso, both sides of the box. Good morning. Dark o'clock here in Vallejo, California. Handsome hubby is in the shower. We've already done our yoga. He'll be heading off to work in a few minutes, and I want to get this video started. All right, we're going to go through the supplies. Not in this order, but this is what's on my desk at this point in time. So you're going to need some hand sanitizer. I just picked this up for 99 cents, so it's a relatively cheap supply. I have a Uniball pen, gel pen, Uniball, a stencil, just a very simple spiral. These are the inserts from the wine boxes. You can make as many as you want. I am going to be making 25 of them, and these are 3x5. I cut them on my cutter this morning. So 3x5 cards, as many as you want to play with. This is for the box that will hold the cards, and it's also the wine insert cardboard, and it's 6x9. We'll go through that together. Your cutting mat, a ruler, your X-Acto, a bone folder, comes in handy. If you don't have one, you can use your ruler. I have 3 stamps, just simple design stamps, nothing real fancy. 3 alcohol inks, 1 dilution spray. I have purple, pink, and kind of an orangey yellow. This is London Blue. 1 acrylic paint. I chose ochre, of course. Stays on ink pad. Gesso. Your jelly plate. I have a silicone brush around here someplace that I'll be using. Here it is. Silicone brush. And eventually some tacky glue. And also some Mod Podge, but that's much later down the road. So let's get started. I am going to put a double coat of gesso on each side of the 3x5 cards. I don't know what I'm going to call the cards yet. Spirit cards, affirmation cards, self-power cards. I don't know yet. I have to meditate on that, see what comes out for me. So a layer of gesso on each side, let that dry, and then come back and put another layer on so it's nice and covered. Alright, next we are going to be using the hand sanitizer, the silicone brush, 3 inks, and the spray ink. So I'm going to put 3 squirts on there. I'm going to put 4 squirts, 3.5 squirts. And just spread it around with your silicone brush. Make sure to cover the entire jelly plate. Oh, I didn't even tell you you needed a jelly plate. Well, you do. Probably know that by now. Looks like that's bringing up a little bit of ink from something before. I'm okay with that. Alright, when I get that all spread out, oh yeah, it's going to have a green finish to it. That'll be fine. I am going to drop some of the purple ink onto the jelly plate, hitting some of those yummy hand sanitizer spots. And then some pink. And some yellow. And then finally, some of the Delusions shimmer spray. I'm going to bring some of my cards in, and I'm going to lay them down on that fresh ink. Pat it down, and then turn it over. Gorgeous. And pat those down. This is more of a ghost print on the other side. Beautiful. And set those aside to dry. It's very organic. What you're going to get is very organic. And just continue on until that ink is all sopped up. Each card is going to be so different. The inks continue to move. It's so fun. Oh yeah. And I'm just going to sop up some of that ink with some of those that don't have a lot on them. Kind of cleaning my jelly plate and also adding some more color to the cards. Beautiful. Alright, I'm going to take a quick wipe of a baby cloth, or a baby wipe. Just clean this. And start a new batch. 1, 2, 3.5. Okay, here are my gorgeous cards and my coffee, of course. And I'm going to just line these up, as many as I can get, on my workspace. They're not quite dry, but they dry pretty quickly. So we're just going to line them up. Okay, so the cards are relatively dry. And I'm just going to take the rubber stamps and the StazOn, and I'm just going to go randomly around and stamp on the cards while they are together like this, going off the edges. And I'm just creating background noise. So there's not any particular pattern, or I'm not looking for anything that looks like a design. We're just looking for some noise right now. All right, there's our first batch of cards with color and stamps. We'll bring in the second batch. Also, our box. We need to play with the box a little bit as well. So, bring these cards in. Okay, so just like we did on the other cards, take your rubber stamps and your StazOn and just create some noise on your cards and your box, just randomly over the edges. Really makes a fun organic look. No two will look alike, that is for sure. And flip those over and do the same on the other side. They transform quickly, don't they? Okay, so we have our box and all of our cards stamped, colored and stamped. So what is next? Next we're going to bring in the stencil. I'm just going to use this fun spiral stencil and some ochre paint and my makeup sponge. Put some ochre paint on my work surface. Put some paint on the makeup sponge, not a whole lot, and just bounce your makeup sponge on your stencil on your card. And you will do this on each card. Just on one side though, not on both sides, just on one. So I am using acrylic paint in a tube. If you're using a craft paint, just make sure not to get too much on your makeup brush or makeup sponge because you don't want it to bleed outside the stencil. The tube is a little bit thicker, the tube acrylic is a little bit thicker, so it stays put a little bit better. But as always, use what you have. So I have all my cards done. What I'm going to do now is bring my box in, decide which side, oh goodness gracious, decide which side is going to be the exterior of the box, and put a stencil on the front of the box and also on the back of the box. So you'll need to pretend that the box is folded up and then put a stencil on the front and on the back. Since it is a thin layer of acrylic, it will dry quickly, and we'll be able to go on to the next step, which I am most excited about. So there's our box, and here's all of our cards, which are gorgeous. Take your Stays-On around all the edges, front and back of your cards. Goes pretty quickly, actually. All right, all the cards are done. I am going to take my box and I am going to just suggest its folds. And go around these edges with the black Stays-On. I'm going to bring my tacky glue in and decide which way this box is going to be put together. So I am going to say that that goes there. Well, alright, we'll do it that way. Put some tacky glue on the flaps from the center part, the bottom of the box. And bring that up. And then tacky glue on the entire side here. And reconstruct that box. I'm going to take a couple of rubber bands and put the rubber bands around there to hold that in place with these icky hands. I mean these gorgeous hands. I'm going to put some paper clips up at those corners. Hold that in place. That seems to do it. Doesn't look like I'll need a rubber band at all. You can, of course. Okay, I am taking these with me to a meeting this morning with my Uniball. And what I'm going to do with each card and the front and the back of the box is I am going to just very, very, very loosely hold my pen and go around the design. I'm looking for a very organic edge. So I'm just holding my pen very loosely. And then on each card I will Make some marks, some doodles. I call them doodles. Seth calls them markings. And I will just do that to each card as I'm playing. So take your cards with you to the coffee shop, wherever you're going, and just play. Fun, right? So I'm going to show you what it looks like with a marker. This is with the marker, and this is with the Uniball. I like this one better. So I did end up putting some rubber bands on the box. Hold it in place while it was gluing. I got most of the cards traced with the Uniball pen. I have this front one to do. I'll show you the difference between the marker again and the Uniball, and then you can decide which is more what you want. I personally like the lighter, but I showed this to my friend Lori. She liked the darker. So I thought about going with the darker, and I've decided to stay with the lighter. So this is the marker pen, the Sharpie marker pen, and that is the Uniball. Now so whichever you like better, if you like that better or if you like that better, depending on what you want. I really like those. Okay, so there we go. This is a Nick Bancock art book. He's an amazing, amazing artist, the author of Griffin and Sabine. If you haven't read those, you need to. They're very, very inspiring. So it has a lot of his work in here. I will make sure and put his name on this book since I'm going to be using his images. This is a book that I bought at at a used bookstore. So I am going to enjoy every bit of it, and I'm going to take it on the plane to Australia with me with a glue stick, and I am going to put some collages and images on the back of those cards. So, ooh, what was that? Look at that. All right, so this is where we begin. I'll show you the finished products when I get back from Australia. We're going to make some spirit cards or something like that. I don't know what I'm going to call them yet, but this is our project. So go create, go play, go have fun. Found one that didn't have a line on it. I'll do that. Go create, go play, go have fun.